month of October flew by. Kate's Halloween party was a surefire hit with the critics, and her novel was selling like hotcakes. Thanksgiving was far more horrific than its neighboring holiday, as I was forced onto a plane from Washington to Colorado to see my ever-so-wonderful in-laws. 5 days, 3 bottles of wine, and a plane ride back to our state later, and we were cozy in our old mansion where we damn well belonged. Christmas passed. I got my wife a new pair of diamond earrings, and she got me a new tool set for my car hobby. The dreaded winter was coming to an abrupt close, and the rains of spring had already come in, my favorite kind of weather. Kate had started another book on top of a script she was asked to write for a new show called Mortals. She was busy most of the day, so that gave me some spare time to do what I did best, working in the garage, which was far less creepy than the house, on a 1970 Pontiac Firebird. It was beautiful, built from the ground up. Engine and transmission rebuilt to perfection. Chassis sandblasted, reinforced, and powder-coated flat black. Underbody fully assembled. Custom interior completed. New tires put on the custom Krager wheels, which were powder-coated flat black and flat gray to match the gorgeous body. Everything I ever wanted in a car was sitting right there in my garage, just waiting to be taken out. But I wasn't going to risk anything with the slick roads, so it would have to wait until summer. It was electrifying to touch. I could almost feel the soul of the vehicle through my fingertips. As stupid as it sounds, I think I can honestly say that I had fallen in love with the thing. "Would you prefer that I left you two alone?" Kate's voice rang out from the door. I jumped. In the past few months, she hadn't slowed down. Her odd behavior persisted, only now she did it on her own, as the only way you'd catch me anywhere near that study of hers was if I were dead. I managed to get her to eat a real meal at least once a day, but beyond that, her diet still worried me. "If you don't mind," I smiled. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" "Oh, it's a she. Should I be jealous?" Without even looking at her, I could tell she was smiling back at me. Kate always had that happiness in her voice. "Absolutely. I mean, just look at her body. I can't think of a man alive who wouldn't want to take her for a ride." My response was just as sarcastic as hers. She slithered her way in between me and the car, and my lips curled into a different kind of smile. "Hey now, I can't have you scratching up her paint." She giggles a bit. "I'm pretty sure I'm smooth enough that I won't be scratching the car." She gave me a little peck on the lips. My hands slid up her sides. "Really now, you think you're that smooth?" I rested my thumbs on the side of her face, leaving the rest of my fingers entangled in her long, black hair. "I'll have to find out, won't I?" She grinned at me as I pulled her into a kiss. Her soft hands snaked their way up my arms, over my shoulders, and locked behind my neck. We leaned against the car, completely engrossed in one another. This was a sort of attention that I'd been lacking for a while. I loved my wife, but it was like I had suddenly remembered why. I was so ready for some long overdue attention, but we would be interrupted by a loud, infuriating ring. I pulled back as she reached for her phone in her pocket. Clearly annoyed by the interruption, I waited for her to ignore the call, but, as expected, she didn't. She instead gave me the 1-second finger, and answered the call with her usual business tone. Instantly, I knew this wasn't going to be a quick phone call, and stepped aside as, once again, I was forgotten. I grabbed a rag off my workbench and twiddled with it for a moment, admiring my work at a short distance. I thought about my wife, who, as I had been feeling for a half a year, was more of a roommate than an actual lover of any sort. I tossed the rag aside and made my way past my work of art. I ran my fingers over the body again, and just as I made it to the door and turned out the light, I hear a subtle clink. Out of pure adrenaline, my hand found the light switch and flicked it on in a flash. The room was still. eerily so. In fact, the only thing that I could even compare it to is the night I heard. No, I refused to believe it. I flipped off the light switch again, and again I hear something. The light was turned back on before I even knew I had done it, but this time I spotted a wrench lying neatly before my workbench. The debate over whether I should go and retrieve it or not was a short one, as I felt ridiculous arguing with myself over the subject. I took a deep breath, trying not to think of the night, and cautiously I made my way toward the tool. The eerie thickness of the room became heavier the closer I got to it. I grabbed the wrench and set it on the worktop just as I heard a quiet, but nonetheless distinctive thunk. At that point, I didn't need to turn around to see what had happened. My car door had opened, and there was no questioning that. "No way," I said. "There's no fucking way." I still wonder why I did what I did next, and regret it to this day. Not only did I turn to see that my car door was indeed opened, on its own, at no fault of my own or anyone else's, but I got into the front fucking seat. Despite the strangeness of what just went on, everything inside the car seemed normal. Nothing was out of place. Nothing really felt strange. It wasn't until I corrected my rearview mirror that things went horribly wrong. I saw a woman. I can't bring myself to describe her, not even now, but I can say that she was stone cold, gray, and terrifyingly familiar. I had seen her somewhere before, though I didn't know where. All I could feel was complete, concentrated terror. Once I had came to, a scream flew out of my mouth as I scrambled to get out of the car, but just as I turned, the door slammed shut right in front of me. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't pry the door open. The car was locked, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get out. In a state of panic, I began to thrash, throwing my body against the car door when, suddenly, I heard the shattering of glass. My forehead felt wet, and my vision had gone fuzzy. I remember feeling like I was falling, and for some reason, I could see the ceiling of my garage. My head throbbed, and my face ached. I felt as though I had fallen from the roof of my house directly on my forehead. This, however, wasn't the worst of it all. I could hear a distant and very quiet giggling like that of a child. And then came the all too familiar breathing, only this time it was in my ear. Just as my vision was going black, again I heard a whisper. Bleed. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out and listening to my tale. This is written by myself, just as the first one was, and it is a continuation from my first video called The Whisper. If you liked this and would like to hear more of this story, go ahead and hit that like button and drop a comment below. It is absolutely necessary for me to give Darkness Prevails a shout out, as he's sent about 60% of you guys my way, and for those of you who are here and subscribed, if you have not heard of his channel, which is highly unlikely, please go over there and give it a look. His content is some of the best that I've heard on YouTube. That will be in the description box. Also in that description box, you will find my social media, email, and a link to a store of some stuff that I've created. It's kind of YouTube related, but it's more or less just stuff that I thought that I would like to wear and have. So it's a lot of cool, gothic, punny stuff, like t-shirts and stickers and mugs. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff and you want to support me beyond just watching my channel, I would appreciate it greatly if you would go give it a little browse. So until next time I upload, remember, always be wary of what you're summoning, and always be dreadful. Good night.